What up, y'all? Y'all know what it is. Street Knowledge Podcast. Your boy Big Bootsie. I'm back. And as y'all can see, I got one of the street legends, rap legends in the building with me. My boy BowBoa. What's good, BowBoa?
What's up, baby?
How you,
What's up,
man?
baby? I'm good, baby.
Yo, it's a pleasure. It's been a minute. I haven't seen you in, I don't know, so long, man. It's been quiet. What you been up to, man? Talk to your fan base out there.
Hey, I've been laying low for the most part, just laying low.
Right.
Just, learning a little bit about myself, growing as a man, opening up businesses.
Right.
I opened up a car lot. I opened up a restaurant.
Right.
And
I remember that.
In Greenville.
I was supposed to do something with you out there.
That's a fact, yeah.
Yeah, you was doing events and stuff like that. Well, that's what's up.
Yeah, just doing that, and I got I got a son that's in the Air Force.
Wow.
So just being a dad.
Yeah.
Just a lot of good things going on. With that.
Well, that's big. So what we do here on Street Knowledge, we try to give the kids informative information as well as grown people too that don't have the insight of what it is to be locked up and fighting for your life to get out of that. You know what I'm saying? So I know you went through something with a case back in the days and even had the mayor step up for you. That says a lot for your character.
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? So can you elaborate to our youth out there and, to the people that don't know about jail, incarceration, lawyers, and all of the above?
Yeah. So basically, it just that when I was, I was locked up in Wake County. I was locked up for on a $1.5 million bond.
Right.
And I was facing like 19 years. So that gave me time to learn about myself, you know what I'm saying, to educate myself.
Right.
And I started taking classes and things like that. So, it's like you fighting for your life.
Right. That's a fact.
So, I seen a lot of people that just went away. They laid down to the system. The system just took them away.
Right.
Me, I decided to fight. So because I just wasn't an average person, I had people like the mayor, people that cared about me. And for my community, I'm really a pillar in my community. So I reached out to these people who could help me. So I wouldn't look like a thug. I wouldn't look like this gangster. I wouldn't look like this. Look like, that's Rocky. That's Rocky that do Easter egg hunts in the community.
Right.
That gives back to his community.
Right.
That anybody can make a mistake, So I had big people speak up for me. And that was just me thinking of how I could help myself, you know? I didn't want to sit back and let them just send me away like that.
Right. And I remember you used to bring us down there when you used to do your events for the community and for the kids. We used to go down there deep, man.
That's a fact.
So it says a lot to that judge when you stand in front of him. You got them people speaking out for you, But like you just said, there be people in there sitting down. You walk past them in the cell, they laying down chilling, and you not thinking about trying to go home, but you took that other approach.
They ain't got nothing, some people that's in life, whether you in jail or whether you out.
Right.
People ain't got nothing on their mind. So, it's just like, it's like I became conscious. I became conscious of life.
Right. Facts.
You can put me anywhere. It doesn't matter because I'm in a cell now. No, I'm conscious inside of the cell.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So people try to fool you with their unconsciousness.
Right, yeah.
No, I'm no longer fooled by that. I'm no longer moved by that.
Right.
Right? So I went through that and I had people speak up on my behalf. That just was a smart move. Even the judge said it's very rare that a mayor would speak up on drug charges.
That's a fact.
But
deep.
I pulled that off.
I was sitting there thinking that.
That don't happen. That's something that don't happen. And it did help my case. It helped me look good in front of the judge, That was something that I told my lawyer to do because, by the way, my lawyer, he didn't even think of that. I don't want who thought of that.
That's deep, man.
Yeah.
So, tell them about how much it costs for a lawyer.
Well,
at the beginning
of the situation, my lawyer was I paid $30,000 for my lawyer, and that's just because he was a high profile lawyer. Every lawyer is not. Some people get court appointed attorneys.
And that's what them kids need to know. That it costs $30,000 just to start a case. We ain't even talking about trial.
No, they ain't. Yeah, they ain't talking about trial. That's a different ball game.
Right.
So that lets you know it's about the money. That lets you know that the system is designed about the money. From the COs to the lawyers to the DAs to the judge, everything is about money, money. And just so happened I was one of the ones that I did what I did, but I saved up money.
Right.
In the process. You got people that's hustling right now that don't got money saved up for nothing.
And that's the thing too. what kids need to understand out there that's in them streets. If you're hustling, make sure you put some money under that bed for a rainy day. Because just because you're having fun and all that and you're spending the money and say, well, I'll get some more tomorrow, you might not make it till tomorrow.
That's a fact.
They come get you. Now you up there empty with no money fighting with a public defender or what they call it, public pretender. You know what I'm saying?
That's a fact.
And that's crazy.
That's a fact.
So, give them a few things of where you come from musically. Where would everybody know you from and remember you from before you went low key and was getting yourself together?
Well, everybody knows me from 16 Ways. A song called 16 Ways to Die.
Yes.
It's a song that, I was signed to City in the South.
Oh, okay, I remember.
City in the South, which is Big Tex.
Big Tex.
And remember the Supper Club back in the days?
Yes.
I was one of the first artists to get, locally independent artists to be played in rotation.
Right.
On K97.5.
To break a record. In that manner, like a...
Tex currently owns the Star Bar, right? A lot of young people know the Star Bar.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah,
facts.
Big Tex owns the Star Bar. He's the owner of Star Bar.
Right.
And I came from Scotland Neck, it's a little small town, and I moved to Raleigh. When I moved to Raleigh, I took on the whole BowBoa, the character, the thing,
Right.
And I got with Big Tex, and we just made it happen.
Right.
I remember from just the waitresses, the bottle girls, they were singing the song. That's how we started it. We used to play it in the club.
Right.
And then it went from that to, I'm coming in on a Saturday night, the whole club is singing 16 Ways.
I remember.
When my gun go, I mean, it was just...
That motherfucker.
Yeah. So, I seen that grow, man. It's like watching a baby grow,
I seen it myself. I watched it. I watched it with you. And I was on the outside looking in until I started coming in. And I'm like, yo, what's this cat? Yo.
Yeah.
Killing. That song was bonkers, man.
16 Ways. And
so where did that song take you to? To what levels?
Well, first, it took me to traveling and getting show money and stuff like that.
Right.
I was one of the first artists going around with tour buses.
Right. I remember.
I remember going down Myrtle Beach with $500,000 worth of cars. You know what I'm saying? Just with my name down the side of it.
Yeah.
And all this was just promotion.
Right.
Independently. A lot of people weren't doing that at this time.
Right.
That's and I was one of the first artists from North Carolina to bring that to the scene.
So give me some stories with. I heard about the stories of you reached the attention of Rockefeller Records when they was in their primes, killing the game.
That's a fact. So I had me and Tex. We had a situation going on because we was shopping. We was shopping the music around.
Right.
So I had it was 2 meetings I had with Dame Dash. So I'm going to New York City, I'm a country boy going to New York for the first time. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. And I met Dame Dash. I remember Dame Dash pulled up. And he pulled up one time playing my music in the excursion. I remember he had the bulletproof excursion.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? With the driver. And when he pulled up, he was like, nah, he was playing my music. And I was like, damn, that's crazy. It was just, it gave me a feeling.
Why?
And I remember Dame telling me something that was way back then. We was way up top.
Yeah, in the Def Jam office.
Yeah, and Dame said it's 2 things, to becoming a star. He said one thing is that all the women gotta want you.
Right.
And all the guys gotta want to be like you.
Facts.
But he said, even if I give you a deal, you still got to work your ass off. Is like me, I work every day. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
So a lot of people thought that just because you get a record deal that you ain't got to work no more.
That's where it stops at.
That's where it stops at. Nah. So when Dame inspired me, he was like, no, even if I give you a deal, you still got to go work this thing. You know, you got to get out there and work it like you ain't got a deal.
Right.
So, that was one good experience. I remember meeting Beanie Siegel, and this is the Rockefeller movement. I was only one person away. Jay-Z was the last person I was supposed to meet.
Right.
And then they ended up splitting up.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
Yeah, that. And it's like a dream come true. I got that close to, and I was like, damn.
Like, damn, man. And see, I got a story, with Dame and them also with an artist from Durham, and he didn't even have a record as humongously and big as yours. Mm-hmm. But Dame liked him because of one of the songs that he had. It reminded him of Aaliyah when Leah passed away. So we had him signed already, but that actual song made it to the paid in full soundtrack. And right then and there, that's when Jay-Z and Dame split. And I'm just saying the same thing you said. Like, damn, man, we was about to take all the way off. I was actually drinking. He had a $300,000 video for that video. And I was outside drinking with Aaliyah's father, and he just kept saying, that song gonna make a lot of money. Whoever this guy is, he getting ready to make a lot of money. And it just crumbled just that fast, you know? So I know that feeling.
Yeah.
So after that process, what you end up doing to further your career?
So after that, you know, I went through that situation, and I end up just because, you know, it came to a point where I kind of like left the streets alone,
right,
to focus on music, you know,
right.
But then as a man, it didn't make me feel good because I couldn't afford to do things I wanted to do for myself,
right,
you know, so that made me feel a certain type of way, you know. I was like, even though, you know, Big Tex was my man, still I wanted to feel more independent. You know what I mean?
Because you're a man.
Because I'm a man.
Exactly.
And you know, Tex had a lot of things going on. You know, the club, he's making plenty of money, but I wasn't making a lot of money like that.
Right.
So then it forced me to have to just go back into the streets.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Just so I can supply myself, so I can feel, you know, that.
Feel, you know, grown man, independent, doing things yourself as well.
So I started doing that, and then I got on my independent level again, and I started investing into myself. That's when I opened up a studio in Raleigh.
Right.
First in Flight Studios.
I remember that.
Remember that?
Yeah, we used to stay in that joint.
Yeah.
For real.
So that's when, you know, I'm still cool with Tex, but it's now I got my own type of situation going on.
Right, no doubt.
And now I'm just building. And I got producers coming through the studio. I got Chris Beats. I got 30. Everybody's coming through the studio.
Right. I
you
remember.
know? Jax Beats, you know what I'm saying? It's so many people to name, man. It's just they was coming through the studio.
That's how I met Jax.
That's a fact. So, you know, just helping a lot of people start their career off. You know, I wanted to give back, so that's what I did. So I did that, and then I end up. That's when I met Face. I met Face during this process, and that's when we decided to move to Atlanta.
Right.
We moved to Atlanta, and then I moved to Atlanta and got the situation with Divine Stevens and Akon.
Right, I remember. I was about to ask that. I'm glad you said that. Okay.
So, you know, I set a goal for myself to move to Atlanta. I gave myself a year that I'm going to go up there and get a deal. And I did it. I did it in 6 months.
Right.
Divine signed me, gave me almost $1 million. They gave me, you know, close to $1 million.
Right.
That's when I got Gangsta Grill with DJ Drama. I got songs with Gucci Man. You know, I got songs with Fabulous.
Right.
I got all type of just, you know, coming out of that situation, you know. So now I'm just running around Atlanta again, putting my stamp down. BowBoa is in Atlanta now.
Right, that's a fact. Putting down your work, and you know this is a good conversation because I need the kids out there to understand too. This is how you push yourself. Not saying you have to go sell no drugs to do what you need to do.
Right.
You can't do everything. What another person do is not good for everybody. So, but this is how you win. You got to push your craft.
That's a fact.
You got to keep rolling. You can't give up. You can't put out something to say it's out and just walk away. No, you got to keep working like Dame told him. You got to keep working.
That's a fact.
So, the Akon situation, after you did the Akon situation, a whole bunch of other things started taking place. And elaborate a little bit for us.
So now when the Akon situation takes place, you know, that's when the whole situation revolves around the Face. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's when Face Diddy story comes in.
Right.
Because when I met Face, my job was because Face could sing.
Right.
And
Facts.
Face is from Durham. So when I met Face, I was like, I thought he was so talented, you know? And being that I knew the studio well, I was like, bro, you got the movement, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You got the money, I got all the resources.
Right.
I'm going to help you, we help each other. We going to be a team, we going to move.
Facts.
So Face supported my whole movement with me getting a deal.
Right.
And I mean, we
That
made
was
it.
smart.
That was smart. So I remember us having a meeting in Atlanta, and Divine called me. I mean, because I moved 2 doors down from Divine. You
Yeah,
know,
I
it's
remember,
crazy
yeah.
because when we moved to Atlanta, it just so happened mysteriously that Divine Stevens stays next door to us. So when we moved in, I met his girl name was Beauty at this time.
Right.
And she came out. She was like, You know, she was just welcoming, like on the welcoming committee.
Welcome the new neighbors.
The new neighbors.
Right.
And she said, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm an artist from North Carolina." And she was like, "Well, my boyfriend is in the music business, you know." Mm-hmm. And his name is Divine. I didn't know who Divine Stevens was. I'm like, whatever, you know. So she said, "But you got any music?" I said, "Yeah, I got this CD that I had put together." Mm-hmm. And she said, "If I like your CD, I'm gonna pass it to him." And if you know, and we started go. So that's how I ended up getting signed. She went to put the CD on, and she thought it was hot, so she gave it to Divine.
You never know where you'll meet somebody.
You never know where you'll meet somebody. And next thing I know, Divine gave me a call. And he was like, "Yo, I got the meeting set up for you. Get your boys together, and y'all come to the studio."
Wow.
I went to the studio. I played like maybe 5 songs. On the 5th song, they was like, "Nah, we signing you."
Wow.
And
that's hard.
And that was that. And, you know.
See how God worked, man. And that's called keep moving in your universe, man. Cause who knew you was gonna move right next door to a big dog? You down there to chase a dream, and you landed right on a golden rock, man. Mm-hmm. That's wow.
That's a fact, and that's the first time me ever going. Like, I remember calling my mom. Was like, "Yo, mom, I made it. We made, you know." I was like, "Dog," she said, "What you mean?" I remember Divine said, "I'm signing." I was like, "What that mean?" Like, I didn't know what it meant. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I've been chasing the dream so long.
You knew what it meant, but you wanted to make sure you heard him clear.
Yeah, say it clear. He was like, "Nah, I'm signing." I said, "Well, what that mean though?" He's like, "Nah, you." So that's the first time I went. I remember going to SunTrust. I'm going to the bank, and me just looking at my banking account. I really made.
Is this for real?
It's me, bro, and it's just crazy, man. I'm going shopping and all this stuff, man. I was just,
Right.
It was a big moment in my life. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it really was.
Those are the type of feelings like this is definitely like unreal. Mm-hmm. And when I got my artist and his name Rick Vocals, when we got him signed to the Rock, it was like unbelievable. Like he really have a video that cost $300,000. Is this real? Mm-hmm. But it was real. So I know that feeling, man.
Yeah.
So later on around that time, I guess that's when Faith's name was real heavy in the streets because he was doing music with you, but he's still stepping outside into that dungeon, and that kind of crossed paths with what you was doing, because it's like they say, the company you keep, it'll that energy will rub off on you. So that kind of rubbed off on what you was doing musically. Right,
that's the truth. Because, I mean, Face had already had that going on.
Right.
Prior to me meeting him,
Right.
And I just, I always had my own thing going on.
Right.
I wasn't the type, I'm never the type that ride somebody else's wave. I'm always going to do what I do. You know what I'm saying? I stand alone regardless of what people think.
Right.
I could be around you all day long. I'm going to do what I'm doing.
That's a fact.
I'm just a man like that,
No doubt.
So, when I remember the situation when we got the situation with Divine, everybody was excited. Mm-hmm. Face was excited. I was excited. Everybody was like, "No, we lit.
Yeah, we
lit now. We going to purchase." When me and Face was talking about getting Lamborghinis, we going to get matching Lamborghinis and everything.
Yeah.
But see, at the same time, Face already had the situation going on. Uh-huh. So this is how it works now. The feds has already got phones tapped and everything.
Being investigated.
He was already being investigated. So. Right. They wanted that before that we was able to clean it up.
Right.
That's why they came in so fast right then.
And one thing me know about the feds, when they come for you, they coming to get everybody. So if they didn't grab you, it's because they already knew from phone calls that y'all never talked about drug business.
That's a fact.
So that's just common sense to a person that know the law and know the streets and know how the police work. You know what I'm saying? So you want to elaborate how they came to your house?
Well, we stayed when they hit the location. Like, we had the studio in Raleigh,
right?
And we was living we had the crib in Atlanta,
right?
So the feds, they kind of swarmed at everything at one time,
wow,
right? And because, like I say, they pretty much knew what I was doing. They knew I was an artist.
That's a fact.
And it's crazy that to this day I had never been questioned by a Fed agent, nobody.
Right.
Me personally, I never have been.
Because they knew you couldn't tell them nothing.
They know I couldn't tell them nothing. So they did.
Know.
And so a lot of people thought, that I had so much, but no, you know what I'm saying? I didn't. My studio in Raleigh, which Face, you know what I'm saying, was recording. We was all recording there every day. So they considered that as Face Studio.
Right, exactly.
You know, so
because the way his persona was perceived at that time.
That's a fact. It was he was big. His name was, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so when they came down just like that.
Yeah.
And so I just, when it came down, I was shocked because they grabbed so many people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then I didn't have time to figure out who was who because I didn't know all of Face's business like that.
Right.
I wasn't in his business like that to know who was who. You know what I'm saying? I just wasn't, you know?
Well, so I talked to Face already. You know what I'm saying? Me and him chopped it up a little bit about that situation with you and with people was putting that dirt on your name. And he gave the world and BowBoa is my brother. The biggest thumbs up that he would never do me like that. And he actually said you're still taking care of him right now to this day.
That's a fact. I've been there. That's what I'm saying, bro. For the last, you think about it, 14 years, 15 years. I went through that, you know. I suffered. It's like depression. That shit put me in depression.
That's what I want to ask, so they'll understand what we're about to talk about. The part, what I'm about to ask you, as far as them putting dirt on your name, we don't know, we don't care who did whatever. It's the point that it has been put out there that you had snitched on Face. Let them people out there understand where it took you and what type of space it put you in.
Well, you know, I think the worst of that situation, to me, is when my family members, people that I thought loved me,
right?
You know, people that I looked up to, called me out of my name. You know, I think that was the point where I was like, this shit is crazy.
Yeah,
regardless of the fact, I'm a loyal person. Right. I'm still loyal to Face at this point. Right. And me and Face is not blood.
Right.
I had people that I thought my family was supposed to be loyal to me.
Right.
They would rather me be in prison than me to be free regardless.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck what I could have did anything, nigga.
Right.
If you love me and I'm your family, you supposed to ride with me regardless.
That's a fact. And they supposed to ask you if you done that.
You supposed to let me talk to you about that.
Exactly.
But because they wanted to kill the ego, they wanted to kill the BowBoa image.
Right.
So they was throwing the shots to hurt my feelings.
Right.
And which a lot of times it did, you know.
Right. You human.
I'm human. That shit hurt my feelings.
Right.
But it made me want to fight. It made me not want, because a lot of times, I was depressed. I mean, it put me in depression.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be around people. I wanted to be around myself.
Right.
And then I started reading the Bible, though. Mm-hmm. When I read the Bible, it taught me that they did the same thing to Jesus like that.
Right.
So that's what gave me that's when I got locked up.
Mm-hmm.
God set me down so I can read and learn of what I'm actually going through.
Right.
Because nothing is new under the sun.
Mm-hmm. That's a fact.
Nothing that we're going through hasn't already been done.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to know what part you play in it.
Right.
So I started reading. I got educated on these motherfuckers.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And now I start being feel illuminated, you know what I'm saying? Enlightened of what these people are doing to me.
Weight off your shoulders.
That's like Jesus talked about the disciples that was at the table.
Mm-hmm.
How did he know that he would turn his back on him before the rooster crowed? How did he know?
Right.
Discernment.
Right.
So when I started seeing my family do me like that, I was like, oh shit.
This is what it is.
We coming up out the Bible now, baby. It's time to get busy.
That's right. Big facts.
Right? So that's what I started doing. I started studying more, learning more about who I am as a person. And like I said, I got over that depression. Mm-hmm. And it took me a long, even this is my first interview right now.
Right. Wow.
I don't talk to people like that.
And you know what's good about this? This is my first in my studio interview. See how God works?
Yeah, that's a fact, bro. that's
first
crazy.
In studio interview with you. And guess what though? From all your work back then, you had Jax working with you back then. And that's how I met Jax. And me and Jax are still friends right now to this day. That's my brother. And look who helped put this together.
That's a fact.
Right
Jack.
here for you to come back and do your first interview. So
That's
your work's still working even through this podcast right here. So I wanted the world to know that.
That's me being a loyal friend.
Facts.
See, a lot of people don't have loyal friends like that. A lot of people don't have loyal friends. Right. See, that's what I'm saying. Let's forget about the stereotype of what a real nigga is. Right. We talking about being real loyal to something, man.
That's a fact.
if your man needs you for something, if somebody call me and they need me for something, it could be a conversation.
Right.
I'm gonna give it to him.
Right.
If Jax reached out, I hadn't talked to Jackson forever, but he reached out. And when he reached out, just so happened he connected with you.
Right.
That's God blessing right there.
For real.
I ain't always showed Jax love. See, people don't know how to give people their flowers no more.
Right.
They don't know how to do that, you know, because sometimes they have an ego where they feel like they're too big.
Yeah.
I never feel like I'm too big.
That's a fact.
That's why I always can reach back and help whoever. You don't matter, you know.
That's a fact. I
Yeah.
spoke about that on my Vlad interview with my brother Unique Mecca Audio. He took me up there with him. He didn't have to take me up there with him, right? But he called me his big homie because he's a bigger brother than me. I was young, but I used to roll with them. I was jumped off the porch early. But now, being he was locked up so long, he called me his big homie. So because I looked out for him and I do a lot of things that will put him in the spotlight like he used to be. So it's just called an alley-oop for a slam dunk. My ego is just like what you just said. I'm not going to act like I'm big now because I'm out here, I'm making moves, and he just came home and his stuff ain't together and all that. No, I put my ego to the side, pull my big bro back in, let him go and stir the pot up, and then pull me in, and that's what he did. And now we still making noise. Now we are each other crutches.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why you still here, bro. To this day, you just had to fall back. It's called fall back to get ahead, and that's what you did. And then you came back full steam ahead with your restaurant.
You got to think about it. Like when I think about this situation with bruh, with Face.
Right.
You know they locked his mom up.
Right. That's crazy. I talked to him about that as well.
No, that's what I'm saying. People get it confused. When them folk want you, they don't have to play. They come get you.
That's a fact.
You're not exempt. Nobody, even I am not exempt.
You're not.
When they lock the man mom up,
That's a
who
fact.
am I?
That's a fact.
Who am I to that? I am nothing to that,
You
bro.
would have went down too.
I would have went down too. It's no
Exactly.
difference. I'm not just sitting here because I want. No, nah. They come get whoever they want.
That's
they
a
don't play
fact.
like that.
That's a
And I
fact.
thought all the street niggas, the real niggas, supposed to know this.
Right. That's a fact.
They don't understand how it goes.
When the girl Delora put that magazine out about Face and it went viral, everybody was buying it. She was protected under the laws, the amendment laws, but they couldn't, the freedom of speech. So she was able to put all that stuff in the magazines, so the police couldn't do nothing to her, charge her with nothing, but it was scaring all the snitches away from snitching because those snitches paperwork was in the magazines and people got to read those the actual words from word for word what the snitches was saying. So it started scaring the snitches away and the police was getting mad. So they would ride by her house and wait for her to come out and pull up on her and tell her, "We're gonna get you, bitch. You think you slick? You putting the magazines out and putting out business that should not be out," but they couldn't do nothing to her. So after that, they found some kind of way
They found a way.
to charge her.
That's a fact.
And she was facing years, and she got scared. She had to cop out and get 5 years.
5 years.
And it shut that magazine down.
Now, on that, like that's what there go again. They came to me to do an interview. This is when the situation first happened. A lot of people don't even know this, right? This is how real I am. People say, "No, what real is?" And I'm gonna show you real. They called me. I told Face on the phone. I told him I would do the interview to help him bring awareness to what he had going on, right?
Right.
When the guy get there with the camera to set the camera up, he was talking to me before we went on air.
Right.
You know, and he said, they put your name in some of the paperwork and said that, you was trying to buy guns and stuff to look like you was a rapper. I said, who said that? Right? And he said, nah. I said, so my name is in some of the paperwork? He said, yeah. I said, well, you can pack that motherfucking camera up and put it back in your car because I'm not saying shit.
Right.
Nah, that's over with. I'm not saying that. I got Face back on the phone. I was like, bro, I'm not doing none of that.
Wow.
I'm not doing that. And things like that is what kept me safe.
That's a fact.
That's what I'm saying. So you got to know how to stand on your own too.
You got to know how to move.
Yes, Lord.
Man.
Yes, Lord. You better.
You got to know how to say no to
I
something
told
that
the
look
man
like
that
it might be good.
That's a fact. I told the man to pack the camera up.
Yeah.
I'm
Good.
not saying nothing.
Good.
So that I never incriminated myself or anything
Facts.
in that.
That's a right. That's a
So
fact.
sometimes being quiet is the better thing to do.
And we just said that at the beginning of this interview.
That's a fact. That's a
Be
fact.
quiet. Once you quiet, they have nothing that can harm you.
Nothing
The
to
only
harm
thing
you.
that they could do to you is sit you in a cell and play that waiting game Because you're going to sit in there and look like, I don't know what's going on. Like, God damn, knocking on the door. Y'all need to talk to somebody. Nah, you just tell them to wake you up when your lawyer get there. Go and go to sleep. Because if you start talking, now you ain't no need to wait for your lawyer except for when you go to court.
That's a fact.
Because you don't incriminate yourself. But if you don't say nothing, they're going to hold you for a few days.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to let you go.
They're gonna let you go. It's happening every day, and I just think a lot of the youth, a lot of the people, a lot of the females, a lot of the guys are just confused about what is real and what is fake.
Right.
They're all going off this illusion, bro. It's sad to me.
Right. That's a fact.
Everybody wants to be gangster. Everybody wants to be real. Nobody like they don't. It's like you can say what you want to say until the heat is on you.
Yeah. Yeah,
you never hear a person say what I wouldn't do.
Right.
Man,
Exactly.
if you don't get your ass out of here.
Yeah. Somebody said in one of my comments, Big Bootsie, you always saying that if you get caught, you won't snitch. That's not what I said. What I said was I was facing 60 years and I took mine to trial. And I said I don't want to sell drugs no more. I picked my poison. I left selling drugs alone so I don't have to be in a situation of a police taking me and asking me to snitch, because I know I'm not going to snitch. And I've proven it already, facing 60 years. It took it to trial. And they had me in that room saying that my co-defendant was saying the drugs was mine. And you know what I told him? I told him I don't give a fuck what he telling y'all. He telling you something to save his life.
Right.
I just was in that car to get a ride down to Virginia. And you know what the police told me? What you just said. They got mad. Said, man, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Take them back in that cell.
Yeah.
So that's how that go.
Yeah.
So they better understand this whole conversation is like I'm trying to enlighten y'all, and that's why I'm bringing people such as BowBoa here to give it to y'all raw, because he been through it.
I've been through it, both sides of it. That's why I say I've been called the snitch and ain't never told on nobody. You gotta be kidding me. And I suffered through that.
And suffered because your name is big
That's a
already.
fact.
So with a name like that ringing, it's worse. They want to hear the negative.
The
you know
weak,
what I'm saying?
I look at it like the weak boys. You know what I'm saying? It's people that didn't have an identity,
Right.
and because I had an identity, they wanted to kill my identity, to
Right.
give them my identity,
Right. Exactly.
to say that I'm real. No, don't listen to BowBoa.
Right.
Listen to me.
Right.
Get out of it. Come on, stop this, man.
That's crazy.
Stop this. The days of fooling people are over with.
My homeboy called me from Butner, and like this was a few years ago, and he said, "Yo, I almost got into it with some dudes in here." He's like, "Yo, ask my man. His name Big Head Pete," and he said, "Yo, the niggas they were trying to say you was snitching because facing them is locked up, and you still out there. And you used to be with facing them." He said, "Man, we was about to go to the yard because I told him, nigga, my nigga ain't no snitch." This is what my boy said. He telling him. And they was going back and forth. He said, "Nah, you can ask my man. He'll tell you." Now I was telling him, strap up. They trying to disrespect my boy.
That's a fact.
I said, word? He was like, yeah, it almost got crazy like that in there. I said, that's crazy because I was dealing with music, as you know. I was showing him how to market it. I'm the one that told him, yo, you got the lights on you, man. Put some shirts on all them dudes and go up in them clubs and pop some bottles and go and hit that studio. And that's when they start hitting the studio, doing music with you, and we start having the DJ spin it. And that's how that happened. So, you know, that was the only thing that I was doing with him at them point in time, showing him the ropes, trying to get another black brother out there and rock and roll. So, you know, we always piggybacking off of each other, but we all did our own thing. I was always in your studio like it was my studio, chilling.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Wanting to see everybody win. That's what we was doing. But when Face started doing the unbelievable, pulling them big boy Bentleys and all that out, I started telling my brother, and I started telling Richie Rich, y'all better pull back from hanging around Face if y'all making some moves with him on that note. Cause I seen that movement before.
Yeah, that's a fact.
And they left. They went down to South Carolina, and they thought Richie Rich thought he wasn't involved now, but he didn't know that, like you just said, the investigation was already on, and Richie Rich got caught up in a cell already. So they already had him, so you can go run and hide, whatever. We got you already, now we're going to keep investigating. So by the time they finished the investigation, was ready to move on facing them, Richie Rich and them was gone already. So I saved them on that part as far as not getting caught when they busting all the houses and the studio and all that. So, but other than that, I went through a time when somebody said that I was a snitch with the face case, but they didn't know that I never was doing no drug business with him. I was trying to formulate his music career and his company with him. You know what I'm saying? So I understand what you might have went through, because that's not a good bone to put on nobody, man.
Nah. I'm talking about for years, bro. I walked around, and people like, they whispering about it,
Right.
You got females, even females.
Right. That's a hurting
A
feeling.
bunch of females is dealing with a bunch of weak guys.
Yeah.
That means that the head of their life is these weak guys that they looking up to.
Right.
So they hearing them say it in the crib with them.
Right.
And then they repeating what they hearing these busters say.
Right. Sucker
So now both of y'all are busters to me.
Right. Fact.
Right? The girl and the guy.
Right. That's a fact.
You talking to a king. You calling a king out of his name.
Right. That's a fact.
That make you feel good, call a king out of his name.
Right.
Yeah, it's all gonna come back. Everything gonna come back. Yo,
That's a fact.
One thing about it, every knee shall bow.
That's a fact.
That's one thing I know. So they will pay for what they did.
So, being that said, we got around all that crazy time in our little, back then, in our little era of the turmoil. Now, tell us how your restaurant, which one was first, the restaurant or the car lot? Because one, I want to say I'm proud of you.
Yeah, thank you, bro.
No doubt. So, which one came first?
Well, when I first came home, I tell you guys, they had me on. I was on the box.
Right.
I was on house arrest, and I couldn't go nowhere. So I started selling cars at my mom's house. I chose to leave Raleigh and get put on house arrest back home in Scotland Neck. And so I bought me a Honda Accord. Matter of fact, it's the same Honda Accord I got from Petey Pablo.
Wow.
That's another story.
That's big.
Me and Petey Pablo was in Redding, California, and we went to the casino out there.
Right.
So we gambling, and me and him was in the casino all night, right? We had lost all our money.
Yeah.
At the end of the night, I just so happened to hit a black. I hit the joint, and I won.
Right.
And
wow.
Petey was like, "Let me borrow some money." So I said, he said, I got that damn Honda back at the house. I give it to you, you know what I'm saying? So I said, all right, boo, I'm going to buy the Honda.
Right.
So that's how I started selling cars. Petey had a Honda sitting at his crib, and I gave him the money for it at the casino.
Yeah.
And then when I got back, that was my first car.
Yeah.
That's the Honda you drove to my house over there off Kaplan Drive that day?
Honda, it was just a Honda, right? So when I got back, I cleaned the Honda up, just cleaned the Honda up, and I sold it.
Right.
I cleaned it up. I think I sold it for like $2,500. And so I say, shit, I can sell cars.
Right. Wow.
So when I took that $2,500, I went and bought me 2 more Hondas.
Right. Facts.
And now I'm flipping. Now I'm the Honda man. I'm flipping Hondas like it's the dope game.
Right.
So I changed my hustle.
Wow.
Now my mom crib, and I got so many people coming to my mom's house buying cars. She's like, "Oh, you got to get this traffic. It's too much traffic up here."
That's hard.
I'm on house arrest.
That's big.
I'm on house arrest selling cars from my mom's crib.
Right.
And then went from that to me opening up my car lot.
Wow. Brick, that's a beautiful blessing.
That's
fact. Called hitting the jackpot twice.
That's hitting the jackpot
you
twice.
Hit the jackpot, took that money while you over there, flipped it before you even got in the car. Then you get back over here, you get the car and sell it, and now you turn out to get a car lot.
I own a whole car lot.
Tax season coming up, man. You might want to get some info on how to get in contact.
One of the biggest car lots. Like I'm from a small town, so they had never seen nobody, selling cars like that. I wanted to be the best. You
That's
know what I'm
a
saying?
movie right there, man. Start off from one
Honda.
car.
I flipped my way. I flipped from a Honda. I flipped the Hondas.
That's a great movie.
And the crazy thing about it, my son is flipping cars right now in the UK.
Wow.
I promise you.
That's big.
He's doing that. So, I taught him how to do that, and he's still doing it right now. So
yes. And see, that's the thing that's missing out here. Kids respecting their OGs and listening to their OGs and following the footsteps of positive movement. And that's a good a lesson right there. And I'm glad that you spoke about that, because that's what we feeding our kids on, street knowledge, man. Yeah. That's big. So after that, how we get to the restaurant? That was next.
So one day I'm at the. Well, actually, I started. I was detailing a white guy's truck, because I'm in a place where there's a lot of farmers and stuff like that.
Right.
And so I'm detailing this guy a dually truck, and I heard him talking on the phone. He was talking about he was doing like landscaping for Sun Energy, Duke Energy. The solar panels.
Yeah, facts.
And he was like he needed help. And I heard that. I was like, yo, what kind of, if you don't mind me asking, I heard the conversation, what kind of help you need? He was like, well, I need to hire some people to do the landscaping for the thing. I would say, shit, I mean, can I do it? He said, well, can you get your own insurance policy and stuff like that? I was like, yeah, I can do all that. So that's how I got into landscaping. I started doing the solar panels.
Wow.
I had like 15 to 20 people that worked for me.
Yeah.
So I started being the CEO of Sun Energy and Duke Energy.
Wow.
It's the same, so I started doing it and I saved the money. I was getting checks with like $20,000, $19,000, $15,000 checks from landscaping. I ain't touching the weed either.
Right.
I ain't touching nothing. I'm calling the shots.
That's big.
So then I'm at my same car lot again, and one of my mans that I went to school with, he came by one day. He was riding by. He came by. He said, "Yo, Rock, what's going on?" I ain't saying nothing, just chilling. And he said, "You ever thought about opening up a club in Greenville?" I was like, "Nah, not really, but when I was locked up, I wrote my goals down. Everything that I wanted to do in life.
Right.
Car lot, and it's crazy. I could show you the list. The car lot was on that list.
Right.
A restaurant was on that list, right?
Damn.
So it's just this is a manifestation. This got me
Yes.
bugged out, right?
Yes.
So my man come, he said, "Yo, you ever thought about opening up a restaurant, a car?" He said a club, something like that. He said Greenville can use. So I said, "Nah, I ain't never thought about that." So I told my girl, I was like, "Listen, we're gonna close down early today. Let's just ride to Greenville and see if I see anything." Right? Because I got money saved up, and I said, "Damn, that is a good idea. Maybe I can go out there and open up some."
Right.
I drove to Greenville. I drove 2 locations. I went to one location. The next location I went to, I ended up getting the joint opened up Montego Bay.
Wow.
The man wanted, he wanted, $4,000 a month for the lease. I gave him $8,000. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
To start it, and I opened up Montego Bay. Ever since the day I opened it up, it was a success.
That's big. I was hearing about it all the way down here.
Yeah.
All the way down here. But it's crazy how your life fell in a pattern of how you wrote it down in jail.
Yeah, I wrote my goals down. A lot of people don't do that.
Right.
They don't have any type of goals.
Right. That's a fact.
So I really, because that's what me getting up and going to them. Remember I said I was going to those classes, and I remember one day a lady asked us. I swear to you, I'm in there with a bunch of grown men. She asked us a crazy question. The question was, "Who are you?" I saw a bunch of people who couldn't answer that question.
That's crazy.
They didn't know who they was, including me.
That's deep.
I was like, damn.
And this is why you was incarcerated.
Yes.
Right.
I thought I was something, man. Till the lady asked me, who are you?
Right.
And I said, nobody knew the answer.
That's big.
I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. I really don't know who I am. So I started wanting to know more about who I was.
Right.
And that's how you got to write your goals and stuff down.
Right.
To what you want out of life. And I started writing those things down. I started worrying about what other people thought about me. I cared
Right.
about who I thought about, what I thought about me.
Right. That's a fact.
And that's why all my goals that I wrote down, I achieved every last one of them.
You got to care about yourself first. That's the most important thing on this planet. How you going to get somewhere if you don't know who you are? How you going to make moves somewhere else if you couldn't make them in your own backyard?
That's a fact.
And you literally did it in your own yard.
I did it right in my own backyard. I went right to my hometown.
That's a fact.
In a small town,
That's a big story right there, man.
Yeah.
And it's good for the kids to understand. It's good for some people that ain't doing nothing to understand, once again, that you could turn nothing into something, man. Don't think that it's all over with because you went to jail. No, know about what you want to do when you get out. And that's what I said when I was incarcerated. When I go home, I'm going to turn up being a rapper because I started rapping before I went in.
Right.
We was the Young Guns of Harlem battling against Puffy's group, which was the Young Guns of Harlem. They were signed to Bad Boy from Mount Vernon. So when I came home, I continued that. And that journey led me to meet a lot of celebrities, all the way up to even meeting you and Face and whoever else that I've been doing things in the music with. But that's a plus. So give us some good old information to what BowBoa is doing next. What's your next big project that you got planned?
Well, my next big project is just dropping. I'm back dropping music.
Facts. Okay.
I'm back expressing myself because for a long time, I let the world stop me from wanting to even create music.
Right.
I didn't even want to create music no more. I let them take that away from me, like something that I love.
Right.
I let people, humans, take that away from me.
Right. That's
And
crazy.
I said that I didn't ever want to rap again. I didn't want to do music because I felt so let down by the people. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like they just
let them break your spirit.
I let them break my spirit. And one day I was at the crib and I was playing some old music, and I was like, "Yo, damn, who the fuck is that?"
Right.
Like I'm listening to myself, but even if it wasn't me, I'm like, "Yo, who the fuck is that?"
Right. Facts.
Yo, God said that's you. Oh my God, God said that's you. And now I got a better relationship with God, so it's like
Right.
Me and God is just communicating on the one.
That's what's up.
And I was like, so what do you want me to do with this? You know? He was like, what do you mean what I want you to do with it? Are you hearing the words that are coming out of your mouth?
Right.
I want you to give that to the people. Don't be scared to give that to them.
Right.
Because remember, I let the people, them putting them allegations on me, kill my drive and kill my spirit.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to talk to these people no more.
Right.
Then God reassured me, like, no, I gave you this for a reason.
Right.
Do that. So I became comfortable with that, you know?
Right. That's a fact.
So now I'm ready to give the world what I've been sitting, writing, creating, all my life experiences, because I never dropped music, really.
So what we coming with first? A single, then an album?
Yeah, we're going to come with a single, a couple singles first. I'm not even going to release an album. I'm just going to drop singles now just to, just to heat it up,
Okay.
Just to heat it up.
Okay.
Just to heat it up. And with that and just working on different things, like even shooting movies and stuff like that.
Right.
I want to be a lot behind the scenes more.
Okay. With the far as movies.
Yeah, like with movies and stuff like that.
So you ain't pushing to be an actor. You just want to be the producer.
Yeah, not an actor, just a producer, but
Okay.
behind the scenes.
Well, we gotta get busy.
I'm gonna use the music just to spark it. You know.
Right.
Using,
in movies, that's a soundtrack. So that's your forte when it comes to that. To be the producer for the movie, executive producer for the movie, and actually be the artist for the soundtrack.
That's a fact.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That make a whole lot of sense, man.
Yeah.
So, how's the family life been treating you? Being that you shook the streets, now you said you're a family man. Well, I know your kids inspire you, but since you left them streets alone, do you think that the family life was a part of your biggest decision to actually stay away from the streets and not ever return? Some people open businesses up and still return back to the streets.
Yeah, even me. Like I ain't gonna tell you no lie. Even when I came home, I didn't, I still dibbled and dabbled a little bit,
Right.
Like, it's weird, man. It's hard to stay away from the streets sometimes. Even like, I was on 7 years. I had 7 years. I had 7 to 9 years over my head.
Right.
That means that if I got in one piece of trouble, that I would go straight to prison. No question.
No ifs and buts.
I had one chance to mess up, right? And I remember being in Raleigh, and there I go, still trying to go back to a little of my old ways because I think I could secretly sneak and make a play.
Right.
Next thing I know, the same detective that had me locked up the first time has now tried to set me up again.
Wow.
He almost had me.
Wow.
He almost had me, and when he had me I was at a Taco Bell on Glenwood in Raleigh. I swear to God.
That's a hot spot.
I swear to God, and I seen, and next thing I know, I'm running. I'm driving my car, jumping out my car, going to Taco Bell because I know I'm dirty.
Right.
And I could have made the play, but I didn't make the play to the girl because she started talking to me about. She was trying to like get more out of me.
Right.
And I felt the energy. I was like, why are you talking to me like that?
Right.
She trying to set me up the whole time.
Right.
I go in Taco Bell. When I come out of Taco Bell, they got the whole Taco Bell surrounded.
Wow.
And the detective that locked me up the first time, he's right here.
Right.
And the first thing he said is, I don't know how the fuck you made it home, because I want to bury you. Right?
Wow.
And he said, don't you got 7 to 9 years over your head right now? I said, yeah. He said, you got to be a stupid motherfucker. The detective was talking to me like this.
Right.
He said, where that dope at? Where that dope at? He started searching me right then. I tell him, man, I'm selling cars. He said, nah, I don't care nothing about you selling no cars. Where that dope at?
Wow.
And I'm telling you, bro, it's crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm nervous because I'm about to go. If he get it off me, I'm gone right now.
Right.
He fumbled around. And because I went in the bathroom, I told you when I went in the Taco Bell, I act like I flushed the toilet.
Right.
And they thought when the police ran in there, he was like, what you just flushed? I was like, I ain't flushed nothing. But I end up tucking back.
Right.
So when they took me out there, he was like, yo, he flushed it.
Right.
That's the only reason he didn't take me down and do a cavity
That's
search.
what's safe.
If he took me to do a cavity search, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now.
Right. Wow.
So he told me, the detective told me right then, he said, listen, I swear to God, I looked at him like he was the devil, right? He said, I'm going to promise you something right now. He talking to me just like this on the one. He said, I promise you one thing. If you don't get the fuck out of Raleigh, I'm going to put all my cases to the side to make sure I bury you this time.
Wow.
I said, I believe you. I packed my bags up. I went back home. And I've been going from Raleigh. I just, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And I changed. That's when, because it almost got me again. I didn't learn. Like, I still tried it.
Yo, this is a big story for you.
Yeah, no, it's real, man. It's real. Because we playing games with our own self.
Right. That's a
So
fact.
that's what I learned about everything we're doing it to ourselves.
Right.
You can't fool yourself.
That's right.
And I've been trying to fool myself, which that's how I know other people are trying to fool themselves.
Yes.
Because I felt it. I've been that close to it.
Damn, bro, that's
Yeah.
crazy. I tell them you can hustle forever. It just take them one time to catch you. And they catch you right, you done.
You done. That's a fact. Even after all that, I went through. That's crazy because I went through all of that, and I still came home. You know what I'm saying? And I still dibbled and dabbled in that. Tried it again.
Right. With 7 and 9.
Wit on my head. If I get caught one time, I'm gone.
For a small pebble.
That's
you
a
done.
fact. I'm done. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's
Wow,
true.
bro.
I went through that, and
Thank God.
thank
God is real, boy.
And that's how I know I just been blessed, man. So
That's a
I don't
fact.
really worry about what people say. I just concentrating on my relationship with God and focusing on that because He leads my steps. God leads my steps.
Right.
Me being obedient to it is what's leading my steps.
Right. Facts.
So I'm blessed, man.
That's
I'm
a
blessed,
blessing.
bro, for sure.
But yo, I'm glad to have you here. The first interview that's inside of my studio, and the first interview with you coming back to the scenes, about to light it
fact.
up, man.
I'm ready.
I'm looking forward to all these singles because I know you got hot music. I've heard plenty of hot music that we used to go crazy in the studio. Drop another one of them joints.
That's
You know what I'm
drop back to
saying?
back, right?
We used to have fun just having our own listening party to your music and all that. But it's a blessing, man. So y'all heard it, man. This here's a good lesson for y'all little young cats out there, man. You heard it from who actually was back in that belly of the beast when they was out here and got their freedom handed back to them. So
a fact.
y'all know what it is. Y'all know how we do it here on Street Knowledge Podcast, man. If it ain't about no knowledge, we ain't gonna preach it. So we'll see y'all on the next go round. I'm out. Appreciate you, BowBoa. And we're going to do this again, man. When you start putting out some of your stuff, we got to have you back on the show.
It's a fact. It's a fact.
Street Knowledge Podcast, rolling with your boy Big Bootsie once again.